In this video, we're going to talk about what they don't tell you about being a real estate agent, and that's coming up right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to Freedom Agents. This YouTube channel is all about absolutely crushing it in your real estate sales goals and living a life of financial freedom. My name is Marc Brenner. I'm the CEO of the Living in Atlanta team here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I would love to hear from you. If you have questions about what kind of brokerage you should join, who you should align yourself with, if you have a question about YouTube or real estate investing, I would love to hear from you. All of my contact information is in the description below. Feel free to book an appointment with me, give me a call, text, whatever you want to do. I have agents reaching out all the time to talk about EXP, about YouTube, and I absolutely love it. All right, so today we're going to be talking about what they don't tell you about being a real estate agent, or another way to phrase it would be, what don't you realize before you get into this gig? You know, it's really interesting to me how before you're in a space, you have a conception of something that you really probably are not familiar with. And then once you get into that arena, spend some time, have some experience, it's amazing to look back and think how different it actually is versus what you thought it would be. And I think being a real estate agent is one of the strongest examples of this. You know, if you think about what the perception of being a real estate agent is just among, let's just say Americans, since I'm in the US, probably most of my audience is in the US. So we're speaking generally in our culture, you know, thinking about the job of a real estate agent. I think a lot of people think of it as a very similar job to a traditional employee job, whether it be a mechanic or a doctor or a lawyer or a cop. You know, there are some stereotypes regarding the type of personality that a real estate agent is, but in terms of what it's actually like to do the work, the pros and the cons, I think there's a lot of misconceptions. So today I'm just going to go through the biggest misconceptions. Maybe you're thinking about becoming a real estate agent or in the process of getting your license, or maybe you're just interested in this topic. Well, I'm going to really kind of pull back the curtain and share with you what it's really like to do this job day in and day out, for better or worse. So let's get right into it. My top 5 things they don't tell you about becoming a real estate agent. All right, coming in at number 1 on the list, and this is in no particular order, but the first thing I have for you that they don't tell you is that real estate school teaches you nothing about how to be successful as a real estate agent. So maybe you're choosing this path, you're really excited about getting started in school, and you go through school, you think it's great. Well, the reality is on that first day after you've passed your test, you know, day 1 at your new brokerage, ready to start helping folks buy and sell homes, you realize something really profound that no one tells you, and that is nothing you learn in real estate school will help you be a real estate agent. Pretty much everything you learn in real estate training school before you take your test is all about the legalities and the definitions for this real estate world. It's basically how not to get sued or to get your broker sued. It's about how to be fair and to treat people fairly, and it's obviously about, you know, a lot of the terms and definitions. There are some nuts and bolts things to real estate that I suppose could apply to your job, but the reality is the really important stuff, the lead generation and the helping clients buy and sell homes, they are not going to talk about that at all in real estate school. So I just want to prepare you for that. You do need to go to school in order to be able to take the test to get your license, but I highly recommend as you're going through that process, you're simultaneously educating yourself about what it will take to be successful, as you're doing by watching this video, obviously. That can be a big shock for people, so that's the number 1 on my list right now, is that all of the skills you'll need for lead generation, for providing great service to clients on the biggest transaction of their life typically, is going to have to be taught to you somewhere else, or it's going to have to be learned by you on your own, because the school that you pay a few $100s for is not going to help you be a successful real estate agent. All right, the second biggest thing they don't tell you before you become a real estate agent is that the broker does not hire you. you hire the broker. And there's a lot of confusion both in the industry for newer agents, but also just culturally about the difference between a real estate broker and a salesperson and what that means. So obviously when you initially get your license, you're not a real estate broker. You have a license to be a salesperson. So you have to hang your license at a brokerage. You have to have someone ultimately reviewing your contracts and making sure they're compliant. Now, after you've had your license for a few years, you can take a test to become a broker. But most of the agents, many agents, go through a career just being a salesperson, and there's no necessarily downside to that. In fact, I think there's more of a downside to getting your broker's license. But all that to say, as a salesperson, when you get your license, one of your big decisions will be, where do I hang my license? Which brokerage do I want to work with and align myself with? And when you're coming from the employee world, you have the mentality that you're going into an interview and you're applying for a job and you need a resume and all this stuff, and you're hoping they will accept you. Now, this seems obvious after the fact, but the reality is that you may not understand, you are interviewing the brokerage, okay? The reality is, for the brokerages, the business model is simply a numbers game. So the more bodies they get into the brokerage, the greater they increase the chances that they will be more and more profitable, right? There's really no way to tell when a new agent comes into your office if they're going to be the next mega agent or if they're going to be one of, the statistics, the 90% that fail within the first 3 years. So you're just bringing people in and you're just hoping some of them produce. And it's like that at every brokerage. So you can really work at any brokerage you want. Now, maybe there are some, special luxury brokerages that want some experience, but overall, you will have the pick of the litter, and I have other videos on this and why it's so important that you interview multiple brokers and create a pros and cons list so that you can match up with a broker that aligns with where you are in life, what your goals are, and what your personality and temperament is. But I want you to understand the dynamic between yourself and a broker. Okay, because this is not an employer, okay? As much as we get down on some of the big employers, especially in the US for, fair wage and all that stuff, they're at least providing things as your employer. The brokers are not really providing anything if you think about it. There's no insurance, there's no paycheck every 2 weeks. Typically, there's not stock options, 401k, any of that. You are an independent contractor, which I think is great, and I'm not criticizing that. I think it's fantastic. There's pros and cons to it, like anything else in life. But what I need you to understand is you have to have the mentality of, first of all, I'm going to be successful, and any of these brokerages will be lucky to have me. So what is the value that they will provide me for me representing their brokerage, paying their fees, paying their cap? That's really the mindset you need to have as you go into your process of picking a brokerage. All right, so number 3 on the list of things they don't tell you about becoming a real estate agent is you have 2 jobs. And I don't mean that figuratively or tongue-in-cheek. You literally have 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs as a real estate agent. One is lead generation. Okay, you need to get people who want to work with you to help them buy or sell a home. And this is very difficult to do, especially as a new agent. So daily, you need to do some sort of lead generation strategy. One of my recent videos, I talked about how you should just pick one and be the expert in that area. But this is something you have to do every day, regardless of what's going on in your life, how busy you are. The few agents who are successful in this business are successful in large part because they lead generate every day, regardless of what's going on in their business or their life or whatever. Okay, so that's one full-time job. It really is. Lead generation, staying in touch with people. For me, it's YouTube. For other people, it's hosting open houses or door knocking or cold calling FSBOs and expireds, but it should be a full-time job. And if it's not, you're gonna find your business is very up and down in terms of when you have people wanting to work with you and when you have a dry spell. Now, of course, the other legitimately full-time job is actually doing the business of helping people buy and sell homes. Okay, so now you've got the people who want to work with you. That's fantastic. But now you're just at step 1. And that's really was a trip for me, doing all of this work day in and day out, and I finally have someone who wants to work with me. And now the work begins, right? Now I have to set expectations, educate, inform. I have to negotiate, do showings, do listings. I have to follow up on timelines and fill out contracts and stay on top of things. There is a lot of work that goes into helping someone buy or sell a home. A lot of legalities, a lot of ways you can mess up, and a lot of things you have to pay attention to. So, all that to say, if you didn't realize, again, this is all about providing you information so you can make good decisions. Understand this is 2 full-time jobs. And yes, that does mean the hours get crazy. So the really interesting thing about being an independent contractor is you don't have to show up to work at 8 o'clock in the morning. The broker does not care if you ever walk into the office a day in your life. There's no one looking over your shoulder about when you're in and out. Nobody cares what you do, okay? Your time is completely your own. If you want to wake up on a Monday and not get out of bed, you can do that and no one will care and you will not get fired, and it's a beautiful thing. The reality is, hopefully the reality for you is that once you have so many people working with you, and you're doing your lead generation, you're going to be working a lot. It's a different type of energy and vibe, and for me, it's extremely fulfilling because it's something I'm building on my own and not something that I'm doing for someone else or something that's required of me. It's something that I'm creating and I'm following up on. So it's very fulfilling in that sense, but do know what you're getting yourself into. I say in a lot of my videos, this is not a good side hustle. This is not a good part-time job. This is a job where 90% of agents fail within the first 3 to 5 years. So this is not something you do on the side of your full-time job. Now, it has been done, okay, and I'm not meant to discourage people who have that situation, but I'm speaking generally. It's my opinion that you should not look at this like a side hustle. So not only is it not a side hustle, it's 2 full-time jobs. All right, number 4 on my list of things I don't tell you before you become a real estate agent, and I just kind of alluded to this a little bit, but it's you're on your own, okay? And I just talked a little bit about ways that you're on your own. Again, getting out of the employee, the traditional 9 to 5 corporate or non-corporate, but the employee mindset, there's a lot of oversight. There's places you have to be at certain times. There's requirements you have to fulfill. There's quotas you have to make. You have to perform at a certain level. Not in real estate, okay? You are truly on your own. And I'll repeat myself a little bit, but when you've passed your test and you've found a brokerage to hang your license, and now you can go into your broker, you're ready. Day 1, you can start. No one cares that you're there, okay? No one cares if you're there or if you're not there. No one cares if you show up at 12 o'clock or don't show up at all. No one cares if, you write 100 contracts, or though they probably be pretty happy about that, or if you write 0. Okay, again, this is a numbers game for them. This is bring in as many agents as possible and hope we get some of the good ones who actually produce. Okay, and the rest of them will produce sporadically, which will still bring in money. But there's no oversight in this whatsoever, as in regards to the traditional oversight of an employer. Okay, there's oversight with your contracts and how you can do things and marketing and all that, but you are on your own. This is creating a small business, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to make this video. People really have no idea what it's like to be a real estate agent. There is no difference in being a real estate agent from starting your own business from scratch, whether it's opening a restaurant or, creating a widget that you're distributing to people or some kind of service-based industry. There is no difference between being a real estate agent and literally creating your own small business. You are the CEO and the employee, and hopefully you can learn to become the true CEO and step out of the employee role, which as we go on in the future, many of my videos will be about, because one of my mantras is I do not want to be a real estate agent for the rest of my life. The whole goal, I think, for you should be, in my opinion, how can you create a business that you can step away from that provides you a stream of revenue that you can invest in other areas. So you are on your own completely, which depending on your disposition and personality type may be really invigorating and exciting and fulfilling, or could be flat out terrifying. So it's up to you to know yourself and to know if this route is going to be a good fit for you. All right, number 5 on my list of things they don't tell you before becoming a real estate agent is you can make more money than you ever dreamt. That's right, I want to end this on a positive note since I think many of the other points I've made today maybe could scare you or make it seem like a very intense job, which it is, but I really want to leave you with some inspiration and some encouragement. And again, I'm fascinated by the perception of this industry and the job of a real estate agent in our overall culture, because I don't think it's in the psyche that real estate agents make a lot of money, which who cares? But if you're thinking about getting into this industry, I really want to help you understand and have clarity about what the reality is. The reality is, yes, 90% of agents fail within the first 3 to 5 years. The agents that don't fail, often cases make more money than doctors or lawyers or software engineers, whatever job you want to come up with. Real estate agents are at the top of the pack. In fact, I can't think of a single other occupation with a lower barrier to entry and a higher potential for income. Now, the lower barrier to entry makes it so that you do have a flooded marketplace in some ways. You have a lot of competition, so to speak, but the reality is the cream rises to the top. And so if you can differentiate yourself just by doing something like lead generating every day, you have a way higher chance than most do in succeeding. And if you can succeed, you can succeed in ways that really might surprise you. I mean, I personally know of people and have experience going from being capped at, 50, 60K, whatever it is in that kind of corporate mid-level management world. You have a ceiling to your income. You can literally in your first year as a real estate salesperson make 6 figures. That happens all the time. It's not even that big of an anomaly. And not just like $100,000, I'm talking multiple 6 figures. And of course, as you go on in your career, this becomes more and more possible. And the average commission, say for Atlanta, in my area, is around $8,000 to $10,000 per commission. So you can see if you're doing even 3 to 5 deals a month, you're going to be making way, way, way more than the average person does in any type of job that they do. If you think about a lawyer, a doctor making multiple 6 figures, really the people who make the most money in those arenas are the ones who start their businesses. They open a practice. They hire other doctors or lawyers to work in their practice, okay? And that's where they make high 6 figures into the 7 figures. And it's the same thing in real estate. You have a lot of high-powered agents making multiple 6-figure salaries, but really the ones who move into the upper 6 figures and into the eventually 7 figures are the ones who create larger businesses with teams where they have agents on their team and they implement systems and routines, creating a real business that helps others succeed, and the income increases and increases over time. So not to say that if you get into real estate, it's easy to make 6 figures. It's extremely, extremely hard. Hopefully you've gotten that from this video and many others, but I just think it's fantastic. And I know money is a weird thing to talk about, but I think it's important to, kind of break that tradition of not talking about salary in the corporate world to really inspiring people about what's possible. And forget, 6 figures, 7 figures. Think about this. There is no ceiling to your income, okay? I really want you to think about that because it's pretty profound, right? The only thing limiting how much money you make is you and how much work you put in. Theoretically, you could make multiple millions of dollars a year doing real estate sales, and there are people who do that, okay? So there is no ceiling. It's not like, oh, well, you make at the top end of the range for your job description and experience level. That doesn't exist, okay? You can be 21, you can be 18 and make 6 figures, make $200,000, $300,000 a year selling real estate. There's no ceiling. Now, the caveat with that is there's no floor to your income, okay? You're not getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. You have no guarantee of consistent income unless you create a business that has a solid foundation for bringing you that income. But getting into this industry, especially at the beginning, you should be prepared for 3 to 6 months of no income at all. I think I got my first check 4 months in. And so I was lucky enough to have a partnership where my wife could float us while I got my business up and running. So I was very fortunate in that sense. Maybe you are as well, or maybe you're not, but you need to have a game plan for paying your bills and money during the time as you're setting up your business. business. Now, it's not to say you have to wait 3 to 4 months to get a deal. You can get a deal very quickly, but of course, you've got to get the person to want to work with you. You've got to find the home or help them sell it. And then it's 30 to 45 days from that point to when you actually get paid. And deals fall apart all the time. So that can be a stressful aspect of it, but it's the reality. So it's kind of that tightrope walk where, again, no floor to your income, but there's no ceiling. And to me, that's incredibly inspiring and motivational. And it's one of my favorite things about this job. All right, so those were my top 5 things that they don't tell you before becoming a real estate agent. Obviously, you can see there's a lot of misconceptions about this particular job industry. I hope that enlightened you a little bit, just gave you a little bit more information about what it's really like to pursue this career. For the record, I absolutely love it. I think it's the best career in the world. I can't think of another career that is so easy to get into and has such great potential to completely transform your life. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Again, my name is Marc Brenner. I'm a realtor here in Atlanta, Georgia. If you want to talk about joining EXP, whose downline you should go in, how to lead generate through YouTube, how to work with real estate investors, I've got a lot of information I'm sharing on this channel and would love to share with you. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, and you can book an appointment with me directly using the Calendly link in the description below. Until my next video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.